One. Hi, everybody. My name's Twila, and I'm the Executive Director of the Weyburn Chamber of Commerce, and this is another installment of our Chamber Face-to-Face. This is a series of videos that we're posting on Facebook that features some of the business leaders in our community, and today I'm so pleased to have with us the President and CEO of Access Communications, Jim Deane. Welcome, Jim.
Oh, great. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, Jim, a lot of people know, but Access Communications is a 100% Saskatchewan-owned telecommunications provider. But I'd like for you to give, in your own words, just some background around, what Access means to the communities that it provides services to.
Yeah, it's well, we're privileged to serve about 235 communities across Saskatchewan, as well as about 160,000 square kilometers of rural Saskatchewan with a wireless broadband internet service that we have. So we've been around since 1978, over 40 years, and been providing telecommunication services in the province, beginning with video and then branching out into broadband internet and then telephony, a landline telephone service, and then home security and business security services as well. So we've been around for a long time, and today we employ 300 employees, over 300 employees, right from La Ronge all the way down to Estevan, from Manitoba to Alberta.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, thanks for that history lesson, Jim. Now, I guess down to the reason of our interview, COVID-19. It's impacted a lot of us, as you can see. Both you and I are now working from home. I'm assuming you're in your home office still. Tell me how that has impacted, the level of service that Access Communications is especially giving to its residential customers.
Sure, I guess we're a little bit different than most businesses. We've been deemed to be an essential service, particularly around broadband internet provision, and in some cases a lifeline service with local landline telephony. So we're a little bit different that way. So the challenge for Access is to manage that, to manage the balance between the safety of our employees and our customers and our communities with the provision of essential and lifeline services. And it's been a bit of a challenge, but I think after 5 weeks we've figured out how to navigate that challenge and successfully bring those services, make sure those services stay up for both residential and business consumers.
Right. Yeah. So, as you can imagine, it's, parents working from home, students getting their education from home, all the other needs and demands, streaming services. So I can imagine that there is, a bit of an increased level of service for your residential customers.
Without a doubt, we haven't seen a spike on our networks. It's historic. It's unprecedented, actually. So, and it began right after the recommendations around shelter in place and self-isolation and those things. So our network traffic went up 40-50% almost overnight. Happy to report that we were able to accommodate that. We did fast track some capital investments in order to do that, though, but the traffic has actually settled down a little bit. I think families have begun to figure out how to entertain themselves maybe a little bit without video or without broadband internet. So it hasn't gone back to where it was. One thing that hasn't changed, though, is the number of telephone calls that are being completed. We're at 160% of pre-COVID telephone calls being completed every day, including long distance calls, and that hasn't changed at all. And I think that's a reflection of people trying to stay in touch with family and friends around the world, actually.
Yeah, that's excellent. Well, and maybe with the improvement in the weather that we're having, folks are starting to get outside a little more and enjoy the weather as opposed to when it was still, we're still in the deep freeze. So that's excellent. Yeah. That's the good news. Now, Jim, I can imagine you do serve some commercial customers. And, from what we're hearing, and, obviously the evidence is there that a lot of our local businesses are having to close their doors, at least temporarily. Right. Does Access see an impact because of that?
Oh, without a doubt. On our business-to-business portfolio, the commercial portfolio, particularly in the hospitality industry, we've seen a large number of customers suspend their operations. We've been working with them. We understand that they don't want to pay for video or internet service while their operations are suspended. So we've been working with them, but it has had an impact. There's no question about it. And it's the feeling is it's far-reaching. I mean, the sports networks, for example, there are no sports to put on, and even if establishments were open, they wouldn't be subscribing to sports services without sports. So it has an impact, particularly on the hospitality side. We're concerned about it. The other impact that may be a little bit further out that has us worried too is the impact on our residential customers when they may have lost a job or had their wages and salaries cut. Salary cuts are now becoming part of a norm. Hours are being cut, and the ability to pay for services too. We're working with customers too, but when you have a choice between food, rent, and perhaps paying for other services, we understand the challenges around that. So there may be longer in the longer term, we expect to see an increase in the cost of collections, if you like, and we're planning for that. But it's an unfortunate outcome, I think, of people being out of work.
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. Well, Jim, we're going to end off talking about customers. I know Access is customer focused, and there are times when some of your guys out in the road are having to potentially access some of the residential areas inside. So, can you tell me what's being done in order to keep both your employees, contractors, and your customers safe?
Yeah, we've done a couple of things. We've introduced something called a customer self-install, where we're actually bring out the set-top box or the equipment and leave it in a safe package on the front step and walk customers through their own install. That way we avoid any kind of contact. So that's been very popular. But we do some controlled visits as well. So we ask customers to maintain social distancing when we do need to get into the house. And we wipe down the equipment. Our techs are in masks and gloves and the like, and particularly when we're into care homes, and the standards are very high when we go into care homes because a lot of the people in there are at risk or have comorbidities and are vulnerable to COVID-19. So we're working with the Saskatchewan Health Authority to make sure that we follow all of those protocols. And again, on the retail side as well, when customers come down and need to exchange equipment or do business face to face, we do that in a controlled way with our retail stores. In some areas, some are closed, but in Regina, for example, it's a controlled environment by appointment only, and we do it in the vestibules of our stores. So there's a very limited amount of human interaction.
Yeah, well, I can see that Access is doing the utmost to keep everyone safe. And, again, we appreciate everything that Access does for our community. It's time to sign off now. Again,
Okay.
I would like to really thank Jim, President and CEO of Access Communications, for joining me today. And everyone stay tuned for the next installment of Face to Face coming your way soon. Thank you so much and have a super day.